Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending from where you're tuning in from. My name is Martin. I'm a volunteer with Women in Nutraceuticals, and I welcome all of you to our today's webinar, WIN Mentorship, Female Leader and Menopause. To kick this off, I'd like to give you a quick intro into the WIN, Women in Nutraceutical vision. WIN was founded in 2021 by some inspiring female leaders of the industry and is counting approximately 500 active members at the moment. Our vision is to achieve economic and social equality in the global nutraceutical industry. We want to offer tools for networking, visibility, and mentoring to create an environment where all women have an equal place in leadership and evolution of our exciting global nutraceutical industry, and where they can reap equally for personal fulfillment, social and economic benefits. The focus areas where WIN is active in is, of course, leadership. So the ultimate goal is, of course, to increase the number of women serving in leadership positions. And we want to contribute to growth, grow the number of women in science and research in the nutraceutical industry. We also want to foster and expand investment opportunities for female businesses and founders. And we want to raise and ensure better opportunities for rising female leaders to create more opportunities. The WIN Mentorship Program has been recently launched as a new initiative and dedicated to help advance the WIN mission and to empower women in the nutraceutical space and help them to unlock their personal and professional potential to the entire benefit of the industry. So we are launching female leaders that are dedicated to the nutraceutical industry. We are industry specific, but we are super cross-functional and we are very international. Now, thinking of the mentorship program, we are looking for mentees, women who are willing to advance their passion about the nutraceutical industry and who are comfortable and fine with objective feedback and constructive approaches to advance for proactive learning and are committed to investing time and relationship in professional development. The mentors can be men or women alike who have to offer significant experience and gathered stature and understanding of the nutraceutical industry thanks to their previous roles or existing roles. And they have a desire to help and collaborate with the mentees and help them to pursue their professional and personal development goals. So the mentorship program Launching Leaders is really all about matching, targeting the WIN senior level female members who are interested to advance ultimately to the C-suite, but it can also include mentors who are just willing to progress. It's a formal one-to-one mentoring program, and it accompanies and offers networking groups. It's dedicated, as mentioned before, to the nutraceutical industry. It's cross-functional, which is super rewarding and very international. Last year, the pilot run has already successfully been concluded. We are right now preparing the second run. And there's also the potential to be expanding the group mentoring, which will then foster even broader opportunities for the mentoring program. That's a quick glance at the WIN mentorship calendar. So right now we are shortly before announcing the matching, so telling mentors and mentees that are supposed to be matched. And then there will be a series of trainings kicked off in January to familiarize everyone with the mentorship program. And then by about mid-May next year, the official commencement will start of the mentorship and will last approximately 6 months. So to kick this webinar off for today, just some housekeeping rules. This webinar will be recorded right now and on demand in the WIN member portal. So sign up if you want to see it. If you have any questions, you can put these questions in the Q&A box and we'll ask them later on. And if we don't have time, we'll make sure you get your answers to the questions. And if you have any technical issues, please use the chat box function. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Sybille Buchwald-Werner. one of the co-chairs of the WIN Mentorship Committee and your host for today's meeting.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, I would like to welcome all of you, particularly our WIN members, the mentees, the mentors, and the participants which are joining us today from around the world for this special webinar about female leaders and menopause. My name is Sybille Buchwald-Werner. I'm a founding member of WIN and also the co-chair of the WIN Mentorship Program. It's my pleasure to be your host today. Menopause is a natural life stage for half of the world's population. 1 billion women around the world are either in or through menopause. Unfortunately, menopause is many times associated with negative effects, like with hot flashes, being tired, or mood swings. But I think it could be seen differently because as women transition into midlife, they often reach the peak of their professional experience and influence. So therefore, menopause should not be seen as an endpoint, but as a gateway to what we can call the most powerful phase in our woman's career. It marks the beginning of the third career segment where knowledge, experience, and leadership skills are at their height. For economies and societies globally, retaining women in leadership during this period is not just beneficial, it is essential. And therefore, businesses that support women through menopause can contribute to long-term growth and innovation. So I hope the discussion that we have today is inspiring us all to see menopause as a biological milestone to the next step, which can be quite positive and fulfilling. So on the next slide, we will see what our community is saying, because we had a poll on LinkedIn where we ask, working with menopause, does it help or does it hinder? How has menopause affected your career? 61% answered negatively impacted. 22% were neutral, and 17% said, wow, it's helpful. These are my power years. So now it will be interesting to see how these answers were coming together and if the people who said, yes, it's helpful, the power years, if they have been in an environment which is supporting menopause and gives the right environment to be continuously successful. Let's find out by speaking to my guests. So the agenda of today is that I will introduce my special guests. We will have Kayla and Leena speaking about the key facts of menopause to give us into it and give us a good insight. Then I will speak with my experts, and at the end we will have a panel discussion followed by your questions and our answers. So I kindly ask you to welcome together with me my guests. The first one is Dr. Kayla Preece. Kayla is a naturopathic doctor who works as a scientist and toxologist at SGS Nutraceuticals. Welcome, Kayla. Then we have Dr. Jolie Singraf. Jolie is a co-founder of the Women's Circle. The mission of this startup is to break the taboo surrounding the menopause and enabling women to lead healthy and self-determined lives. Welcome, Jolie. Then we have Hanna Talpa-Nemaki. Hanna is a professor at the Faculty of Medicine in Munich, and she's an expert for women's health, particularly bone health. And we have Leena Pradhan-Nabzdyk. Leena is CEO of Canomiks, a company that uses cutting-edge technology to provide genomics and bioinformatics services to support the development of nutraceutical ingredients and products. All four of them are WIN members and experts in women's health. Let's explore how successful female leaders manage menopause and how businesses can foster a supportive culture and benefits for everyone. It's my pleasure to hand over to Kayla and Leena, who will start giving us an insight into the world of menopause and provide us with the necessary facts and basics for our panel discussion. Kayla, Leena, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sybille. Welcome, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here today and to share some of the information I know about menopause with you all.
Sorry, I can't start my video.
I'll go ahead and get started. So as Sybille mentioned, right, around 1 billion people have gone through menopause to date, and that's a pretty large number. And these numbers aren't getting any smaller in terms of percentages. It's kind of a tidal wave, and I think this is really why we're hearing so much more about it these days. Certainly, we've got new awareness and around changes in women's lives. We have the baby boomers, they've gone through menopause. We have millennials who are going through menopause. These are very big populations in the United States. And as this slide is showing, right, around 6,000 reaching menopause every day. So there's a wave coming, a wave here. All right, and let's break menopause down. When we say menopause, what are we saying, right? And the meno in menopause is from Greek. It means month, right? So we're pausing the month, those monthly cycles that we've had, or many of us have had, much of our lives, is being paused. And to go a little bit closer into this menopause transition, menopause is really a single date, as we see here in this graph, right? That green menopause, a single date, which is 12 months since the last period. However, you have perimenopause before and postmenopause after. And all of this is usually under the umbrella of the menopause transition. And in this graph that I'm sharing with you, it's a British graph, which is why estrogen has an O in front of it. But we see these rhythmic increases and decreases in the premenopausal state, right? Before around 40, 45, really depending on our cycles, and that drop of blood, right? Every month, estrogen goes up and down, and we get our period. Once we get around perimenopausal age, it becomes a little bit more erratic. The estrogen levels, and it's more than just estrogen, I'll also say, right? This is focusing on estrogen, which is the big player in hormone health for women, but there's also progesterone, there's also testosterone. They go through a similar slow decline, right? The slow slip and slide decline that we see in this graph. So this really can convert over to those other hormones as well. So around early can we go back? Yep, early perimenopause. There is a more erratic movement of estrogen, and all that estrogen, right? Estrogen, progesterone, that's coming from our ovaries. So it's kind of a slow senescence is the word, right? Kind of like the ovaries are finished with what they were put on this earth to do, and our cycles, as you can see again in this graph, is decreasing, right? The periods maybe become less intense, maybe a little bit more erratic, and then there's a period over at this graph. It shows at 50, and 1 year after that, if there's been no other period, that's your menopausal date. It's kind of like a birthday, right? It's a single date, and then after that, you're in the postmenopausal years. During all of this, I think it's good to remember that our body has been, since before birth, primed for a life with estrogen. And as this estrogen is slowly decreasing, all of our cells in our body are adjusting to the fact that this level of estrogen is no longer around. And so that is the symptoms that Dr. Leena will be speaking about here soon. But just to give you a perspective about our entire body, right? Our bones, our eyes, our hair, our everything has been primed for estrogen, progesterone, and it's slowly decreasing, which is why we have these symptoms. But I also wanted to point out, right, in addition to this natural decline that's expected, there's also premature menopause, also called premature ovarian insufficiency, which is a menopause transition that happens before the age of 40. There's early menopause, which happens in around 5% of women, and that's the normal decrease happening between the ages of 40 and 45. And then, of course, there's induced menopause, whether it's surgical or some other reason, having ovaries removed, that can immediately give you an estrogen loss and therefore those symptoms. Now I hand it over to Leena.
Thank you, Kayla. Thanks for that overview. Hello, everyone. So I'm here to talk about a little bit about the symptoms, and full disclosure, I am in that perimenopause phase right now, going through a lot of these symptoms. And a lot of times when we think about menopause, we think about, the hot flashes and the symptoms around weight gain. But there are so many other things that are happening in our body. Think about your hormones, especially the estrogen that Kayla just talked about. It impacts all different organs and all different cells in your body. So it's not just the weight gain or the hot flashes. Those are very obvious symptoms and get talked about the most. But there are also other factors that or other symptoms that are kind of subtle, and then eventually you realize, oh, probably that is because of menopause. For example, brain fog. Brain fog is real. How do we protect our brain, post-menopause years or during even premenopause? So think about brain fog, fatigue. Sometimes women experience dizziness. Those are some of the symptoms that I have personally experienced. And then there's, of course, we have an expert today about bone density and bone loss, and how do we protect ourselves from all of these changes that are happening. But I was also excited to see that last question, that last point that was on that survey that Sybille showed, that these are also our prime years, especially in our careers. We are young years and our premenopausal years. We talked, we are building our careers, we are taking care of our families, but now we are really primed. We have all the experience that we can bring to our workplace. So yes, menopause is just another phase of our life, of our personal life, but it is more than just that. So while we have all of these symptoms, we are also becoming wiser. That menopause, sort of the birth date that you just talked about, Kayla, I think about as our wise date. So yes, these are the symptoms that you and a lot of women in the audience would be experiencing, but don't get disheartened. We are more than just menopause. Can we move on to the next slide? Thank you. And then another thing to talk about is talking about menopause itself and how different cultures look at menopause, or just even women's health and the intergenerational aspects of menopause. I grew up in an intergenerational household. I grew up with my grandma, my mom, even my aunts, my cousins, all around, just within 2 minutes of where we lived. And what was interesting is growing up, even and this is I'm 50 years old, and this is when I was 10 years old. So this is about 40 years ago or 12 years old when I got my first period. People didn't talk about period. People didn't talk about menopause in that culture, in my culture. But now I'm so amazed. The younger generations are so open, talking about these natural aspects of a woman's life. And I'm really heartened to see that, talking about menopause. And when my mom went through menopause, I didn't even realize that that was something that happens to women. But now when I see my friends and myself talk about menopause to our kids, even my 10-year-old, I talk very openly, and he's a boy. And I think, we have evolved. And I think how we support our kids, our especially our daughters, and how we think about our parents who are getting old, especially our moms. I think bringing all of those perspectives in a conversation is really important. So that's
Can I add something here,
Yes.
Leena?
Yes.
So as a naturopathic doctor helping women with their menopausal transition, it's also wonderful to talk to our mothers, our grandmothers about their experiences, because our experiences are more similar to our mothers and to our grandmothers than maybe to our friends. I mean, women, we're really storytellers. We really talk to each other about what we're going through, whether it's pregnancy or our periods or what puberty was like, right? And I think menopause can be similar to that, right? A time that we can be storytellers with each other about our individual experiences, because it's so variable for women, right? Like my normal may be very different than Leena's normal. And so getting an understanding of what other folks have gone through, as I mentioned, right, specifically in your family line, can be helpful for you to anticipate what's coming down the road for you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, and of course, this is WIN, so we want to know how we can help support women going into leadership roles. And when we think about women progressing in their careers, and then we're moving into our perimenopause and menopausal years, we're usually in some prime time of work. And this is a reference from 2016 survey from the British Menopause Society, but the survey said around 50% of the participants said menopause impacted their home life, which would make sense. A third of it said it impacted their work life, and I think this is a call to action to make sure everyone is supported. Next slide, thank you. And this is a much more recent. This was just earlier this year, July 2024. Continuing, right, that greater awareness around menopause in the workplace. And it's great that Fortune Well has been talking about it, looking for greater awareness and solutions, ideally. Next slide. Within our nutraceutical world, we have a lot of companies that are diving into this space to be able to support women, and Bonafide's one of them. They did a survey as well. This was 2,000 women between the age of 40 and 64. Three-quarters of them reported no workplace accommodations, and a half of them said that they wanted more workplace support. And going back to what I mentioned earlier, that how my experience may be very different than Leena's experience, different than someone else's experience. Some of us may say, like, that was smooth sailing. Menopause, didn't even notice that it happened. And others, it will be a very, very different picture, right? The hot flashes, the brain fog can be more severe. And so being open to hearing each other's experiences, their stories, and considering workplace support, I think is a great starting place for how we can support each other as leaders, women, female leaders in work. There are nonprofit organizations trying to get more information out to workplaces, to the community at large. And Let's Talk Menopause is one of them here in the United States. And these were some of the suggestions that they mentioned: having an employee resource group, having a menopause point person within your company, making any physical accommodations. As we mentioned, right, hot flashes are, certainly as a provider, right, hot flashes are the #1 reason females will come seeking help for menopause, is because of the hot flashes. Hot flashes will inhibit good sleep. It'll inhibit feeling normal at work, right? So having fans, cool rooms can be helpful. Flexible work hours, locations, going back to that poor sleep, right? Like flexible hours can be very helpful to make sure our brain is working on firing out on all cylinders. Educational resources and telehealth sessions with a menopause coach. And then a change in dress code, perhaps during warmer months, again, for accommodating those hot flashes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kayla and Leena, for giving us this introduction, explaining the definition about menopause, but also what are the symptoms and what can we do and what is the society already doing. Thank you very much. And now we would like to go into the one-to-one discussions with our experts. And I kindly ask Kayla to come back on stage. And let's speak about your life and your experience you would like to share. And first of all, I would like to ask you about, can you tell us a bit about your education, your career, and what motivated you to be so interested in women's health?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I was an integrative family doctor practicing in Oregon and Washington. I was also a midwife, so I kind of had experience in all sorts of different aspects of the female health life cycle. And menopause is important to me, understanding menopause. So I fit into one of those early menopause categories. So I'm 39, but I'm putting on those estrogen patches just like many others out there, because I had early menopause. So it's important for me to understand. It's important for awareness out there as well.
And when you think about your working environment, do you feel that women are affected, and what are the signs that you can recognize in your environment?
They are, as Leena mentioned, right? They can be slow and somewhat insidious at first, right? Like a loss of focus at work, and changes in mood. And I think as a practitioner, I would say after hot flashes, women coming in to get medicine for hot flashes, it would be changes in mood. And so recognizing that in yourself, maybe it's a feedback from others in your household that you will get, right, regarding a little bit more anxiety or depression, things along those lines. And being aware of that, I think, is very important during this transition as well.
Do you have the experience that in your environment people speak about it? Or do you think there's a hurdle to speak about it? Or what would be the biggest hurdle you see for women to accelerate career when they come into menopause?
I would like to think that everyone's becoming more accepting of everyone being more vulnerable with what is going on with them, whether it's the pandemic that has really helped us shed light that we all are working on different things in our life, right? Going through different rough patches or normal patches, right? A normal life stage such as menopause. So I think I'm hearing more about it, certainly in the news.
I like that you speak about normal life stages and rough life stages, and that you don't categorize the menopause as a rough. I think it's very positive to say it's something naturally, which is a biological milestone, and we have to accept it, and we have to find the right way to deal with it. So what would be a tip that you would like to give women in menopause?
I would say perhaps harkening back to what I said about vulnerability, and I think greater awareness, right? I think it's hard for us to feel like we can be vulnerable when we're trying to be leaders. I think it's hard for us to feel like we can be vulnerable when we don't think other people will understand us or know where we're coming from. And that's why I really appreciate information like this, more awareness in the media and elsewhere about menopause, menopausal transition, because hopefully we can all feel more comfortable bringing it up in a meeting, bringing it up with each other, and with people who are not female, right? Bring it up with other males, and they won't feel uncomfortable when they hear about it, right? They can understand it. So I would that's what I would most likely say for women, embracing or recognizing, thinking about that vulnerability and where it feels comfortable for them to share.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, thank you very much, Kayla, for sharing your thoughts. And it's very, very interesting to hear. And now I'm looking forward to speak with Leena and to hear how she is her experience and what she can share with us. And Leena, let's also start with you. And please share about your education and what made you found your own company.
Thank you so much again, Sybille. So I'm Leena Pradhan Nabzdyk. My background, I have a PhD in pharmacology. I have been on faculty at Harvard Medical School for many years, but during that time, along with my colleagues from Harvard Medical School, I co-founded Canomiks, and we are a genomics bioinformatics service provider company providing basically R&D services. And it's my background really, that I grew up in India using a lot of herbal medicines and Ayurvedic medicines, and just wanted to use my learnings and my experience from my PhD and bring it to the herbal traditional medicine world. So and there's a long, bigger story behind how we started Canomiks, but that's where the passion comes from. Now, coming back to the topic of menopause, as I was very open and I disclosed in the earlier segment, I am that person, I'm that demographic that who's going through menopause right now. And I think the biggest thing, and I think Kayla just very nicely articulated, is that just make it normal speak. It shouldn't be a taboo. We are women. Half the population in this world is women, or even more, and we have to make it you don't have to put it in someone's face, but it should just be like, hey, how's the weather? Oh yeah, no, I woke up really groggy today, I'm not feeling well because I'm going through menopause. That should just normalizing that aspect of our life will bring a big change in our personal lives, but also big changes in our work life. Talking about not just the bad aspect, like I mentioned earlier, not just the bad symptoms that we experience, but how that also primes us for the next phase of our life, and what that really means. Our experiences from being, where we were in our careers, and the phases that we went through, from being young professionals to maybe some women who have children like myself, and how we work through that and our work life, and now this phase of our life where probably a lot of our children are grown up, but now we are we have these other aspects of our life. So I think that's how we should think about menopause.
So if you come to your office in the morning and you see your team, you would tell them, be careful with me today, I have some mood swings, and maybe don't take me serious.
Yeah.
So how do you foster and how you live it in the office?
Exactly. And you just have to be very open about how you feel. And when I was younger and I would come to the office, oh my God, I would complain about how the traffic was so bad, or I had whatever that morning that happened on my way to work. This is just like, oh my God, I feel not so well, or I'm just so fatigued, I didn't sleep well, because insomnia is a big part of it. And how we respond to each other and just normalize it, be like, okay, let's stay away from Leena today, she's a little tired. But I'm just joking. But I think normalizing and talking about it makes it mainstream conversation.
Sure. But did you also implement some measures in your company for people who are not so open or not so free to speak about it? Do you speak to people, or do you have like an hour per month where they can come to you and speak about the challenges they have in their life?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm an extrovert and I can talk to anyone and about anything. But of course, people have, different personalities, and I have not just about this topic, but we have a very open door policy. If anybody wants to talk about anything, I, as the leader, I'm always open. It's not just sometimes people themselves are going through issues, but also maybe their moms are going through something, or their daughters are going through something. So it's always an open space, and you're absolutely right. We have to make space for everyone, and in different ways. So if somebody is, tells me that, hey, Leena, and this happens a lot where you share office spaces, and I think there was a point about how to adjust the temperature in the room, right? When I was young, it was always, I'm always cold. And now it's like the hot flash comes from nowhere, surprisingly, right? And so how do we respond to that? And if nothing can be done, at least be empathetic. I think that empathy should be there in all of those conversations. Maybe you won't be able to make a big change or a systemic change, but at least be able to hear and listen to your colleagues is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. And what would be the tip that you would give to other companies who say, we are having new employees, we're having a heart for 50+ women, and we would like to hire them. How should we prepare ourselves? Should they look where they sit if they don't sit together with young employees, or what tip would you give? from your
Yeah,
experience?
and I think this goes back to my personal experience of growing up in India and that culture where we are even in India, even today, we are multi-generational households. My parents and my brother and my niece, they all live in one house. And so I think a lot of that has to do around, okay, how do we really make space and how do we talk with each other about this topic and how do we bring this conversation to a point where, okay, we exchange ideas and how we really take it to the I'm actually having a moment right now as we speak, like all of a sudden I'm like, what am I talking about, right? And so making that really easy for women to to talk about things, to discuss how we can implement or bring in ideas from different spaces. I think that's really important. And to talk to men, absolutely, you have to talk to men, make men part of it at some point. I'm sure, and in some households discussions are open and men talk, mothers talk to their sons, and some households it's not that open. And so maybe we can create that culture at our workplaces where, hey, you may not be able to talk with your family, but this is who we are as a company or as a workplace, and this is how we approach this topic.
Thank you very much, Leena. It sounds very good, and I think it's also maybe a bit easier if you have your own company and if you are a woman-founded company to drive implementation and be open, and that vulnerability will not have a negative aspect if you speak to colleagues. And so thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to speak to Hannah now, because Hannah is working in a more male-dominated environment, being a professor and medical doctor at the hospital. Hi, Hannah. Nice to see you and welcome. I would like you also to start to tell us a bit about your education and how you selected women health, particularly working on bone health as your passion.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for having me here. It's a pleasure. And yeah, so I have a doctorate from Finland, and I've since ever then worked with bone. I've been trained in Denmark, in the US, now in Germany, so different countries, and with different experts, so gynecologists, endocrinologists, orthopedics, oncologists, so really interdisciplinary. And while doing this, I've understood how understood, underdiagnosed, and how also undertreated bone health, first of all, is. Osteoporosis is a very silent disease. We will get to this. And through that, because osteoporosis manifests mainly in postmenopausal women, that drove me into the course of women's life, and particularly bone health, muscle health, but also more holistic well-being.
Perfect. Yeah, this sounds like there's you have a passion, and there's also a gap where the more information and more education is needed. I think that like bone density and these things are measured too late, right? It should be measured earlier so that we know what is our natural stage and also what is our proposition to get osteoporosis.
That's the thing. And I feel like, bones are a little bit like we women, don't get me wrong, but, women are very strong. They are very flexible, and they can carry a lot of weight until they break then. And we are also very, silently. So osteoporosis or bone loss overall is a very, very silent. Bones don't really complain. We feel many other symptoms like the brain fog or others that come quite easily, or we are more sensitive. But bone pain, we don't really feel. We don't know, as you said, in what shape actually our bones are. So yeah, and that's why raising awareness for that also is quite important.
Yes, I see it's a very important topic, because we have lots of questions in our question and answer, and maybe we just change a bit, because I think it's fitting so greatly. So we have one question from Jenny Roberts, and she's asking if there's anything you can do during menopause to prevent bone loss.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And of course, one thing is exercise. And particularly weightlifting and this kind of loading exercise, but any kind of exercise. It doesn't have to be heavy weights. That's good for the muscle, but also for the bone. And supplementing with calcium, vitamin D. These are very important. Of course, if there are other products that can be used to supplement, these are the only things that can be done to prevent. What I would maybe like to emphasize, we are now in our age is never too late, but bone loss is actually starting already earlier. So when you have children, try to also remind them that osteoporosis is not only the disease of old women, but bone loss starts quite gradually. So exercise and good nutrition during life, the higher bone mass we have, the less we then also lose.
Yes,
But so these are the things. But of course, estrogen is very important for bone. And that's why if having very strong symptoms for menopause, for example, talk to the expert doctors. And if it is really recommended to have, for example, hormone replacement therapy. We are not talking about it today, but I think also there is a little bit of stigma that's very dangerous. But discuss that also openly, because what can be more dangerous is not to take anything and break your bones.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And I have another question which goes in line with the next question I have for you, because what I would like to ask you is also because you're doing so many lectures, so you are connected to many associations, but you also see different societies, and what is done to do awareness for it, and what is the best way to raise awareness. But we also have a question from Anseli Peguero, and she is asking if what we see in media, the advertisement campaigns of companies about menopause products, if they are really targeting the right one, or if they are maybe failures, and what you see could be done differently to have a good awareness campaign. So maybe we start in saying, what do you think should be done?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think first of all, it's good that we are starting to have awareness, because as we know all, menopause, bone health is not also particularly sexy topic, so there hasn't been really much of an awareness. So I think that's number one, but of course it has to go in a right way, so to say. And some companies I've seen quite good advertisements where it's really on the topic, and things that are concerning, but there might be also a lot of how can I say, not really on topic advertisement. So I don't know, that's how can we raise it? Well, first of all, we should raise it in a way that we women understand it, but targeting also not only women. I think that's where the hurdle might be even bigger, because then we target the group who don't really actually know. They can't know what's happening in our body and mind. So so I don't have a clear answer to this. I think this needs another session and some brainstorming how to do that.
Yes. But I think it's very important that you said we have to target not only women, we have to target the whole environment. We have to target the husbands, the kids, the working, the colleagues, the peers. And I think that's also what I see in the chat here, that our audience also says it's important that everybody knows. It's because otherwise you have to fight for yourself, but that you don't be alone, that you feel like, yes, it's recognized, and that's what it is.
Exactly. And because it's not necessarily ignorance, it's, or kind of, it's just that people don't think about it. If you don't have certain things, you have other things, and you don't necessarily think about it. And that's why there's not necessarily anything mean, of not recognizing it. It might be just simply lack of understanding and awareness.
Yes, yes. We also have another question which is coming from Scandinavia. So it's from Wenke Buxnoy. I hope I have said it right. And she wants us to focus a bit on this vulnerability and working in a male-dominated industry. What can you share from your experience? How do you speak with male colleagues if you think it's something menopause related, or how you do make you them aware if you see that other colleagues female colleagues have a problem. And do you think that if you show up what is there, that they accept it, and that you get an even more authentic relationship, or that you feel weak and you say that I should have said nothing?
This is a very difficult one and a topic that we should discuss in length, because it's difficult, especially if you've been in a very masculine environment where you might have also, like I have, adapted certain masculine energy that had helped to go through and raise the ladder and everything. And we know that we are at the perimenopause or menopause, at the stage where we still may want to get promoted and at the peak career phase. So to then come up with something where you then are not equal anymore, it's difficult. It is difficult. So I'm also trying to understand what are the best ways to talk with the colleagues, talk with my team, also to make it more normal as a leader, to say, today, my brain is not functioning completely as it should be because of this going through this phase. So to normalize it, but that's a difficult one, especially with the let's say the older men whose partners probably also, by the time they have been at their 40s, 50s, this has not been discussed at all. So to raise that is a tough one, and I haven't succeeded myself completely to make it in my environment as it should be. But I'm talking with my female colleagues, and we are, together joining forces and doing, little by little. But the acceptance is to get yourself accepted in this situation is not necessarily always an easy thing.
Thank you very much for being so honest. I think it's always important to have someone you can trust to speak with and to open. And then also maybe I would also do it. I would also say, if I have somebody where I see that there's no awareness and no education, and it's just putting the person also in an insecure situation if you speak about something, because doesn't know how to react and what to do, that it's maybe then better not to say something, because it's just like a difficult situation. And maybe in another situation with having another person in who can answer, and the other one has to answer directly, is maybe easier. So it's also needs some emotional feelings when to address and how to, in small steps, move forward.
Exactly. Little by little, we can't change it properly from basically no awareness to a full understanding. So pulling, here and there when it fits, pieces together.
And as you have worked in so many different geographics, do you think there is a difference between Germany, Finland, US in being open and society acceptance?
So what I've heard from colleagues, I have never worked in Australia or in Canada, but what I've understood is that they are quite advanced there. Finland, Germany, I think both are more or less similar. It's now a little while I was in the US, so I think the colleagues in the US can now tell better where things stand. I think we are improving here. But so let's say what I've seen, not necessarily a geographic difference, but in time. So I think during the last years, there has been more. But again, Australian and Canadians, I think we should look there and learn perhaps.
Yes. So the next webinar, we will invite somebody from Australia to join us. Thank you very much, Hannah. It was very inspirational also to get your personal experiences. And and I'm looking now forward to speak to Jolie, because Jolie is the one who is really working and fighting to get more awareness in the industry. And she has founded her own company, her startup, 2 years ago. And the whole philosophy is about menopause and how to make women's and men's life easier. So welcome, and please explain a bit to us why you founded the company and what is the philosophy and the main targets.
Yes, thank you, Sybille. Yes, I will do that. For about 2 years, Adrian and myself, we decided to discuss about the topic women health. We noticed there is a lot to do, and even the pharma industry does not focus really on women health, and there is a big potential to do it better. And then having contact with many people around this industry, realized that menopause is really an interesting topic because it's still a taboo, as we already mentioned, but also kind of black box. So I belonged at that time to those women, but turning 45, there are many women there. They know just not that much about the symptoms and what happens with their hormones. So there was really a lack of information. It was really the starting point of our project. And then we could suggest a kind of holistic approach around menopause. So like services and then also products, because we are both coming from the nutraceutical industry. Exactly. So we launched the 3 first products in the Swiss pharmacies last year. It works good. We are really happy with that launch. We also are working on webinars, so providing information and education about that topic. And in parallel, and perhaps this is something I can explain more into details, is the way we support organization to open the dialogue about the menopause.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key points. But before speaking about this, you said you have founded the company together with Dr. Adrian Kran. So it's a 50-50 women-men founded company. So how is the setup? What do people say when he's coming and want to do awareness? And they say, okay, it's a man coming speaking about menopause. So how was the feedback?
Yeah, I think rather good. I think this is one of our advantage, because being a man, a woman together, trying to break this taboo is certainly an advantage. I think it's like feminism. I think if we want to change mentalities, to do it together, men and women, I think that's the best option to move forward and speed up a little bit the process. When we contact companies, I would say it doesn't play a big role. We both are taken seriously. I think it's rather an advantage, again, to have a man on board. What I can mention is when contacting organizations, companies, is we rather have a good feeling that the men are rather open to that topic. If a man has to decide about the budget to start a project with us, I think they are really open and interested and motivated to change and to understand better that stage of our lives. So I think it was the positive point I can mention in the starting phase, that actually men are not working against that project, really not.
But maybe they also say, if I do this awareness campaign, that I'm not personally so involved, but I have done something for it. And at the end, the motivation doesn't matter. Important is to get the awareness out. And maybe you can tell us a bit more what you do in companies and what you
exactly.
offer.
Yeah, for sure. I think they are aware that there is a need to support women health. I think from that point of view, I think it's not middle age anymore. So we see some progress on that. We are lucky because in our team we have also two UK women, Amenta and June, working since more than 5 years in UK on such projects, supporting organizations. So we are really lucky to have their expertise on board. Because you spoke about Canada and Australia before, but UK, we also have to mention that UK is really like 4 or 5 years in advance in comparison with the other European countries, definitely. And so the very first step we have to do in companies is just awareness session to open the dialogue about that topic. And the best way to do it is to have a kind of webinar, or even better to go there and I make awareness sessions, and then everyone is invited. So it's very important to have men, women, all people of the company are invited, and we also need to have the management there in order to have the support of the management. If the management is not coming, you don't reach exactly what you want. It means like open the dialogue and giving the employees the signal, we are supporting that topic, and in our company we can speak about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Just looking at the question, there's also one question, I think you can answer it, because you are not only doing awareness for menopause, you're also speaking about andropause, if I remember right. And we have one question which is asking about, okay, what's the difference? What is andropause affecting men as tough as menopause women?
Yeah, like so in almost every session I just mentioned, at least define what is andropause, and exactly. So in a certain way, it is the same as menopause, since it's the sexual hormone which is declining. In case of men, it's only testosterone. It starts at about the same age, like 45, 50. It's from that point of view, it's about the same, but there is a huge difference. This is the speed of the process. So in our case for women, progesterone is decreasing slow, so within only a few years. Estrogen is experiencing a kind of big cow, and then also with a strong variation, and also within only a few years. And in the case of testosterone, it's a very, very slow process. So I think there are some graphics showing that a man is reaching a low level in testosterone being like 90 and not 55 like or 51 like a woman. So the process.
This is a Charlie Chaplin kids effect.
The principle is about the same, but the speed is completely different. And we estimate that only 5 to 10% of the men are having symptoms affecting their health. So which is also a big difference.
But it's good to know that both have their package and the biological milestones. Exactly. Thank you very much, Jolie. I would like to ask everybody to come back and to use the last minutes that we have to speak about something we all have in common. And the first question that I would like to address to all of you is, what is your personal motto? What is your motto that you have for your life, if it's menopause or if it's not menopause? So maybe Jolie, you start, because we just spoke to you.
In general, I think life may be very hard, and I think we have to be courageous. I think women, we are courageous, and I think never give up, and just believe in your ideas, in your motivations.
Perfect. Leena?
My motto is hard work, kindness, and empathy. That's always, at workplace, at home, in the community. So,
Henna?
Mine is turn your face to the sun and you will not see the shadow. So I don't mean that you should ignore all the problems, but quite often there are two sides, and trying to focus on the positive ones instead of negative.
Very good. Yes. And Kayla?
Hi. These days, I'm hearkening back to the keep calm and carry on British phrase. Carrying on with the work that we do, carrying on with the standards that we hold for ourselves and others.
Thank you very much. Yeah, for me, it's more, it's adaptability and flexibility, because I think if I make a decision and later this decision looks different and I have new facts, then I can change it. So for me, it's very important. You don't have to stick to your decisions. It's always different time, different facts, and it's not a weakness to change opinions. It's more the development that we are all in. Yeah, what do you have? What do you like being in the nutraceutical industry, and what do you like being a woman in nutraceuticals member? Leena, let's start with you.
Sure. So I come from academia, and this is my first industry experience overall. And what I love about the nutraceutical industry is the camaraderie and how we support each other. And just it's evolving, and to your point, Sybille, how you said, you should be able to adapt, you should be able to change, and I see a huge opportunity in the nutraceutical space to adapt, to change, especially to the latest technologies. And it's an exciting time right now in the industry. And of course, I love working with really wonderful colleagues, and and WIN, for example. I mean, that's like my safe space now, from a work perspective. Yeah.
Nice. I like this word, safe space. So Jolie, what is your safe space?
Sorry, I think this is the combination between science and health, which is interesting for me, is to go deep in the understanding of science topics, but beside of that to try to reach achievement goals going through direction health. I think this is my motivation, and also to develop solutions, to work on solutions to help people.
Yes. Kayla, why are you a member of Women in Nutraceuticals? What do you like on our industry?
Oh, well, I'm a member because it has been really great camaraderie, like Leena has said, right? Supply Side West was last week, and it was just amazing how many folks you can pack into our get together that WIN had, and it was great connecting with folks that I've seen on meetings with WIN, or I've been part with a mentorship with WIN, and it's like a not a secret society, obviously, but a connection with everyone.
Perfect. And Hannah, you are a member and also a member of the science committee. So what do you like on our industry and WIN?
Well, I like the inspiring people. I like overall positive challenges in work life, and I think the WIN is both. It's of course the industry is challenging, but in a positive way, and really different and an inspiring people. Nice network, so to say.
Yes, I also really like the network. I mean, I was always working globally in leadership positions, but what I have learned in the last 2.5 years is beyond this, because you have a very safe place to explore culture and to improve how to communicate. And this is also what I really like. Yeah, and now the last one would be, what is your tip to our WIN members and particularly maybe also to our mentees, what they should do to not get frustrated and achieve their targets? Hannah.
Well, yeah. So I was not thinking about the menopause, but
or for our members in menopause, do it like you want.
Well, I think just that discuss. Let's not leave it to the menopause, but I think again emphasizing the network, the community, whatever it is that is concerning, or if you need someone to really cheer you up or to celebrate with you, get connected with the colleagues and discuss positive and negative things.
Thank you. Leena.
A tip for the mentees is, again, you can find me on LinkedIn, reach out anytime, and don't hesitate to ask help. And this is a tendency for a lot of women, including myself. We want to do it all on our own. We have an ecosystem. We have a very fantastic organization here, WIN, but also other people in your ecosystem. You'll be surprised how much people are willing to help. And I have learned that from my entrepreneurship journey more than anywhere else is, just ask for help. Don't try to do everything on your own.
Yeah, I think that's a very important advice. I think everybody in around you could be your mentor, and normally everybody can do something very specific. And if you need this, just ask. People will be happy to help. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Jolie, what is your advice?
I would say also to get help, and if you have to change your GP or gynecologist to find the right person ready to help you, just do it. So do not give up and really look for the right person. And the second tip would be like, I think this is also a change menopause. It's not only symptoms and problems you have to solve. It's also an opportunity to put your health a bit more in the center of your life, to check your nutrition, your sport activity, what's good for you, what do you like to do. And I think if we have kids, they have grown a little, you have more freedom, more hopefully a bit more time for you, and take this as a chance to take time for you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And Kayla.
Yeah, to the mentees out there, I was thinking about, and maybe this goes back also to the what's a motto that I go by, and one is life's not linear, and I think that's good to remember when we are. Sometimes it's not the most direct path coming to the nutraceutical industry, right? I was a healthcare practitioner, and it was certainly circuitous getting here, and I'm doing something very different than what I thought I would be doing at this point. But we have a lot of folks that can help you along the way and that can support you, and reaching out via LinkedIn, via all sorts of via WIN, can be a way to open new doors if that's what you think you need right now. And there's so many opportunities in the nutraceutical industry.
I like what you say, because this is, I think nutraceutical is it has a high diversity. It's not only by gender, by age, but particularly by educations and where we are coming from. And that's also what makes this industry so lively and also so successful for innovations, because it's really a cross-functional team which is working together. And that's very satisfying, I think. Yeah, thank you very much to all. Please stay. And I also would like to ask Martin to join, just in case we have maybe one question or two questions we can answer. Martin, do we have some questions left that you think we can address with our panel?
Yeah, it was fantastic. You covered really a lot of points already, so fantastic panel. I think one point you touched on was kind of the prevention aspect. So what are the main natural supplements or supplements in general to deal with to prepare the female body before the actual menopause years come or arrive? Any suggestion to that one?
Do you want to start with the first, Martin? I know it's also one of your key points. Maybe we all say one herbal ingredient, which could be in a capsule. Let's make a formulation. The super formulation for menopause.
Yeah, I mean, there is, of course, a lot of talk about human replacement therapies, so which comes, I guess, at a certain impact. But I mean, natural approaches are, of course, of high interest because they probably are with less, downsides. There might be one or two ingredients that are really helping.
One ingredient. Everybody one ingredient. I'm getting pushed in time.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
From our
so would be like we have one ingredient, Rapontic rhubarb extract, and it's just it's
rhubarb.
helping
Perfect.
with the estrogen
Hannah,
level.
you say vitamin D, I guess.
Well, now I've said those already, so I'm in a power position. But I would there was also a question about it. So vitamin K is important also. In addition, collagen as well. So there are a couple of particularly for bone, but vitamin K in addition to the ones that I mentioned.
Perfect, Leena.
So mine has always been turmeric. It has so many, and we do a lot of work with turmeric at my company. So.
Yeah. Kayla, what would you recommend?
For those perimenopausal years, which is where most of those symptoms are happening, I would say something like Vitex can really take the edge off of mood change.
So natural isoflavone, yes. And Jolie?
So I think I have no choice. I have to mention what we have developed in our products. It means saffron extract against mood swings, and ashwagandha for sleep issues, and hop extract against hot flashes.
Yeah, I would say lemon balm, because I take lemon balm every evening because it helps me to get calm and get my cortisol down. So everybody has said something. Thank you very much for joining and having this great panel discussion, which will be available on demand for the ones who could not join us. I don't want to close before telling you that there will another terrific webinar taking place, organized by WIN, next week on Thursday, on the 14th of November. And it will be a webinar about contract research organizations specialized in women's health. So thank you very much for the attending today. And thank you very much for all of my panelists. And have a good day and see you soon.